A320. Climb, cruise, descent. Climb. Pilot flying should monitor the performance climb page to show when the aircraft will reach the FCU selected altitude. Pilot monitoring should select flight plan. Below 10,000 feet above aerodrome level, it is recommended that any MCDU inputs are made by the pilot monitoring. When cleared to a flight level or at the latest transition altitude, set the barometer reference to standard, and cross-check the altimeters including the standby altimeter. At 10,000 feet, the speed will automatically accelerate to economy managed climb speed. The economy climb speed is computed by the FMGS. It provides the most economical climb profile and it takes into account weight, actual and predicted winds, ISA deviation, cost index. Landing lights off. Seat belts off. EFIS select airports. Terrain on NDs off. ECAM memo review. Clear manually tuned radio aids from MCDU radio navigation. Copy the active flight plan. Check the MCDU progress page for optimum flight level and max recommended flight level. Optimum altitude is the altitude at which the airplane covers the maximum distance of fuel used. It depends on the actual weight and the deviation from ISA. The recommended max is the altitude in level flight at maximum cruise thrust, or a minimum climb rate of 300 feet per minute, with climb thrust selected. The displayed recommended max flight level gives the aircraft at least a 0.3 g buffet margin. Selecting a cruise flight level. If air traffic control clears the aircraft to a flight level above the cruise flight level originally entered in the initialization A page, there is no need to modify the cruise flight level on the progress page. The FMGC will automatically take into account a higher cruise flight level selected with the FCU altitude knob. If air traffic control clears the aircraft to a lower cruise flight level than the one entered in the initialization A page, the flight crew must insert this lower cruise flight level in the progress page. If not, the aircraft will not enter into the cruise phase and soft altitude mode is unavailable. At flight level 285 or before entering RVSM airspace, an altimeter check should be performed. Both primary altimeters should be within 200 feet. Cruise. Speed, Mach. When the cruise altitude is reached, the auto thruster operates in speed Mach mode. The optimum cruise Mach number is automatically targeted. Its value depends on cost index, cruise flight level, temperature deviation from ISA, weight, wind component. At cruise flight level, the aircraft is in soft altitude. The autopilot will allow small variations of plus or minus 50 feet around the cruise altitude to keep the cruise Mach before a readjustment of thrust occurs. This optimizes the fuel consumption in cruise. Periodically review ECAM system pages. Engine, oil pressure and temperature. Bleed parameters. Cabin pressure parameters. Electric parameters, generator loads. Hydraulics. A slight decrease in quantity is normal, as fluid contraction during cold soak can be expected. Green system is lower following landing gear retraction. Fuel quantity distribution and temperature. APU. Condition, duct temperature compared with zone temperature. Avoid larger differences for passenger comfort. Door oxygen. Wheel. Flight control. Note any unusual control surface position. TCAS traffic to below. Flight level. The flight crew should choose a flight level that is as close to the optimum as possible. This optimum altitude is displayed on the progress page. At 8,000 feet below optimum altitude, fuel burns approximately 10% more. At 4,000 feet below optimum altitude, fuel burns approximately 5% more. Cost index. The cost index is used to account between fuel and time costs. It affects the economy speed Mach and optimum altitude. Cost index equals 0 corresponds to maximum range. Cost index equals 999 corresponds to minimum time. Navigation accuracy check. On aircraft equipped with GPS, no navigation accuracy check is required when GPS primary is available. Navigation accuracy must be monitored approximately every 45 minutes when any of the following occurs. IRS-only navigation. The progress page displays low accuracy. Navigation accuracy downgrade appears on the MCDU. Methods for checking accuracy. The navigation accuracy indications are available on the MCDU progress page. If the accuracy error is 3 nautical miles or less, FM position is reliable. Use managed lateral guidance. If the accuracy error is more than 3 nautical miles, FM position is not reliable. Use raw data for navigation. Descent preparation. Check airfield data at destination and alternate. Check landing distance if runway conditions have changed or the aircraft has suffered a failure. Program the FMGC for arrival. Check on ECAM cruise page that landing elevation auto is displayed. If required, the pilot monitoring should select terrain on ND, and the pilot flying should select radar on their ND. Auto brake. Use of auto brake is preferable. Use of maximum mode is not recommended for landing. On long runways, depending on runway occupancy, time limitations, and the expected runway exit, use of auto brake low with reverse is recommended. On short or contaminated runways, use medium mode. Descent. Check destination and alternate weather conditions and perform landing performance calculation using electronic flat bag. Prepare nav charts and check status page to review aircraft capability. The FMGS calculates the top of descent point backwards from a position of 1,000 feet above ground level on the final approach, with speed at VAP. It takes into account any descent speed and altitude constraints, and assumes managed speed is used. The top of descent is displayed on the nav track as a white symbol. To initiate a descent, the pilot flying should select a lower altitude in the FCU and push for managed descent. If an early descent was required by air traffic control, descent mode would give 1,000 feet per minute rate of descent until regaining the computed profile. Descent mode operates within a 20 knot speed range around the managed target speed to maintain the descent path. The progress page displays the vertical deviation from the optimum descent profile. Poll for open descent. Open descent will take into account only speed constraints and not altitude constraints. When cleared to an altitude or at the latest transition level, select QNH. 10,000 feet. The speed would normally have decelerated to 250 knots or any other speed constraint by 10,000 feet. Landing lights on. Seatbelts on. Select constraint on EFIS panel. ILS push button on. Pilot monitoring reads approach checklist. When approaching the airfield, activate the approach.